Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to you all. Whether you're... Anyway, do you know it's the hardest thing to start? I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers because gradually just, one by one, you've been noticing me and subscribing. And so you don't know all the back history, do you, if you've just joined me? But it's all there in the playlist. You can start at episode 1 and work your way up, and you'll see where I've got to today. Each episode, it's a little brick in the wall, isn't it, up to today? I think I've been going 4 years in July. Amazing, isn't it? But each episode's different, bit of crafting. I started off showing you what I just made, and I didn't quite know what to do right at the beginning, but it's developed, hasn't it? So now I show you my crafting table, what I've been doing over the last, since I saw you last, which for this time is a week and a half. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's a week. It just depends on, well, I suppose how I feel and what we're doing. I mean, Pete and I, this time last year, he was out of hospital. He came out of hospital on the 23rd. And, well, yes, that was this week. And, oh, my goodness, a year of, 6 months of nursing full on. And still now, But we don't really talk about it. We just get on with it. And he's doing all right. But, yes, this time last year, I couldn't help thinking about that. And then, of course, this time last year, I lost my mum. And then this time 4 years ago, I lost my dad. And I've been through a bit of come on now, pull your socks up and get going. And what helps me do that is crafting. Crafting with I haven't got to do it. I haven't got to get it done in a certain amount of time. And to be honest, over the last... I just sit round the fire. I've just been sitting round the fire crafting. So last time I showed you a couple of quilts, of fabric for a couple of quilts that I want to make as presents. And I've done the centre square. I've sat round the fire. All the instructions are for doing it on the machine, but I didn't want to. I haven't got a craft room. I've got a craft table. My machine's in the conservatory and it's a little bit chilly out there. And anyway, I just wanted to sit with Pete and do my little bits by hand. So when it comes to the crafting table bit, I'll show you the centre square and I'll show you how I did it. I just took some photos as I was doing it. So that's what's in this episode. What else is in this episode? A little film. And my granddaughter sent me a little film of George. He's 2 February the 6th. And that's a funny day for me. I'm not usually telling you all this stuff, am I? Anyway, I am this week because I feel we're friends. And Feb the 6th, the day my mum was cremated, my granddaughter gave birth to a little boy. Yeah, and so, double-edged sword again there, isn't it? But of course, George is just, he's just such a darling. So he's 2 on Feb the 6th, which is coming up, isn't it? He starts his day with a sing-song and he stands on the table. Anyway, I'll tell you that before the little film. So it's been very stormy in England, very rainy, which is why I've been enjoying my time with Pete, sitting around the fire. And, we like to watch TV. Well, Junior Bake Off has been on. And we love Junior Bake Off. It is the absolute best. I mean, Bake Off, the Great British Bake Off is great enough, but Junior Bake Off is even better. And we love it. It was the final this week. And we might start at the beginning and watch it all again. They just plop it up, never mind making a mess. But what they produce is absolutely lovely. And they're about 10, 11, 12. and the things they ask them to bake, I think you and I would think, what? And they say you've got an hour. They give them instructions, I know, but even so, they do amazing. So we've thoroughly enjoyed that every day. And what else? Oh, I've got things going round. Got washing machine head, really. Yeah, washing machine head. I'll tell you, I'm going to go from one thing to the other today. Is that all right? I'm not all that's I just get it all off my chest. Oh yes, I was telling you about the film. I'll tell you about that before. Oh, we were going to visit my daughter, Kim, who lives up the line, and so I made her husband a fruitcake, and I just popped it in the bowl. I was in my PJs, so it wasn't really a good sight for you. So I just filmed what I was doing because I do my fruitcake, which is lovely. Only once it came out wrong when I had friends coming to stay, which is always hateful, isn't it? But I'd put too much soak. I'd soaked it in too much liquid. Anyway, I'll tell you about that before I put it up. So there's going to be how I bake my fruit cake in the air fryer, and every single time it comes out lovely. And before you can say Jack Robinson, my son-in-law Andrew has eaten it because he loves it. Anyway, that's ready. We've had to change our plans. We're going to be going up one day next week because, we didn't want to travel in the storm and all of that. So that's coming up. The film, the cake, the crafting table. Oh, and I'm going to read you my story. I'm going to start off with reading you my story because I'm sitting here and I might as well, mightn't I? Might as well just carry on. Might quieten me down a bit, mightn't it? But what I've got in my washing machine head, for all you new subscribers, washing machine head means I've got things going round and round and round, and I've got to sort it out. I've got to sort it out. Oh, what a lovely view out of my window today. No wind, no rain. I'll put it up. When we moved here, it was a walled, field, I suppose, at the bottom of our garden. But over the years, we've been here 25 years in May. Over the years, they've put up some polytunnels and they've got bigger and bigger and bigger. And my daughter Nicola came round last week and said, Mum, what's that? And you can really see them now. But you know what? I don't mind. They grow all the cabbages and cauliflowers, I think, the little seed bits that the farmer puts in the fields. Anyway, washing machine head. So what was my washing machine head about? Well, it was about opinion because I've been doing some research, which I'm going to share with you next time. I'm going to get that all off my chest, not this time. But I kept thinking, oh, well, if you know about the PAC model, parent, adult, child says, my child says, I must please others. And the parent says, you be quiet. And so I've got these thoughts about what I'm going to talk to you about next time. But you see, this parent in my head keeps saying, you keep your opinion to yourself. That's not right to put that out. And I think, you see, that stems from my childhood. Children should be seen and not heard, all of that. It wasn't really like that in my family, but I think I might have always felt it. Got lots of thoughts, maybe don't know how to express them. Mum and dad are busy. At school, you certainly kept your opinions to yourself because their job was to teach you, not you teach them. And so, opinions. But of course, if I'm an adult, the here and now, it's perfectly okay for me to have an opinion. Last year, friends came to visit, Heather and Andrew, and we were at the Italian restaurant. And Heather and Andrew are listeners. They like to listen. In fact, if I don't prattle on, they say, "You're quiet, Pen, come on, come on." And I say, I was prattling on and I said to Andrew, "Oh, I'm talking too much, Andrew." And he said, "No, you're not. I like listening." I said, "Yes, but it's I shouldn't be talking too much." He said, "But I like it." I said, "Yes, but I've got too many opinions." And this is what got my washing machine head starting. I've got too many opinions. And he said, "I like opinions. That's different to opinionated. That's what I don't like." I said, "What's the difference?" He said, "Well, people that are opinionated want to put their opinions on somebody else. They want to put their opinions on me." Oh, I said, "No, I'll tell you my opinion, but I love hearing your opinion because I can change my opinion then. I love learning. I learn so much from other people." I was a counsellor for, I don't know, 20 odd years. And I learned so much from my clients. I learned more from my clients than they probably learnt from me because, well, I learned about irrational thoughts, which obviously I'd trained and I did know about them. But when a client expresses to you their irrational thoughts and you challenge those and you help them to change those irrational thoughts into rational thoughts, well, I learned a lot. I learned a lot how the mind works, how we can all go down that rabbit hole of irrational thoughts. And I think this is an irrational thought. I shouldn't give you my opinion on ... So, yes, I'm going to quieten the parent head that says, "No, you're not forcing your opinion. You're not opinionated. I've just done a lot of research and I've formed an opinion and I've changed in the way I think." It's all right, isn't it? You with me on that? Well, if you're not, that's okay too. And that's about accepting each other, isn't it? I'll accept you for your opinion and you accept me for mine. So that's my washing machine head. I've got it out my way now. Thanks for listening. Do you know what I mean? I expect you do. Often the things I think, other people think too. Of course, other people don't care. That's what Pete would say. When he was a little boy, he didn't grow up pleasing with the thoughts of, "I should please others." He grew up with the thoughts of, "I'll do what I want." Yeah, still in child thoughts. Still, not quite good. We need to be in it somewhere in between, don't we? But yes, definitely he thought, if I think that, that's okay. If you don't think it, I don't care. He had that kind of attitude, which I loved when I met him. I thought, oh, I wish I could be like that. But yeah, after learning so much about it. And if you want to learn more about parent, adult, child, I'll put on the screen a playlist of where I've taught you a little bit about transactional analysis, because that's what helps us analyze our thoughts and helps us change. So no must, should, oughts. If I choose to think a certain way, that's fine. And if you choose to think a certain way, that's fine. But I don't want to be opinionated and force my opinion on you, or for you to be made to feel that you should change your opinion. Anyway, enough said. Shall I read you my story now? Let's quieten down. Well, maybe you are quieting down. You see, it's me who's got washing machine head, but I'll quieten down. Well, I've been asked how much of my story I've written, and I've written loads, absolutely loads. I've read you that much, and I've got that much. Whether I'll carry on reading it, I don't know. Our honeymoon, a new decade. Oh yes, what decade was that? I wonder. The 70s, because I got married in 68. So yes, I've carried on a bit. And I left you last time having moved from Tottenham to Southgate, and it was 1960. I got a little bit, I had to check the dates, and I've got my school reports here, and it was definitely 1960. So in the summer of 1960, before I started my big school, my old school friend from Tottenham invited me to go to camp with her. Camp? I'd never done anything like it. I'd never been anywhere on my own. Certainly not. Anyway, I begged my mum and dad, could I go to camp? Could I go to camp? And they said yes. Oh my goodness, I wish I hadn't. I hate camping. Sorry, I'd rather stay at home. I like my own bed or a beautiful hotel bed. But I certainly don't like a palliasse. That's what it was. So I'm going to read you that little bit because I missed it out last time because I had to check on the date, but it is definitely 1960, that summer of. And of course, in 1959, Cliff Richard did Living Doll, and I loved it. Came on the television the other day, and I just got myself a crying. Oh, and here I am back at my age that I'm describing to you. Well, I've got to find the page. Oh, here we are. Mum and Dad decorated my room. Well, it was decorated. Mum and Dad had done that during the process of buying the house. So when I moved in that day, it was decorated, but all the finer things hadn't been done. I didn't expect them to be done. I'd shared a small bedroom with my brother up until then, 10 years of sharing a bedroom with my brother. Anyway, Mum and Dad decorated my room whilst I was away at camp with my friend Elizabeth, who was in my class at school. When I came back, there was a new lilac and white curtains at the window, and around my white wood dressing table, and a new eiderdown. Yeah, I had a white wood dressing table. My daughters had that too when they were growing up. And then, of course, we moved from London here to the seaside, and I just couldn't keep everything. And I let it go. I wish I hadn't now, but I haven't got room for it here. You see, that's where the brain goes, isn't it? You want to keep hold of everything from those days, but I just can't. I couldn't. Anyway, when I came back, there were new lilac and white curtains at the window, and around my white wood dressing table too, and a new eiderdown. It looked very pretty, but when I came home, I flopped on my bed, and after a rest, I came downstairs, and Mum said, "Well?" Can you imagine my mum saying that? "Well?" in an inquiring voice, and I answered, "Well, what?" I hadn't noticed any change. I think I was just glad to be home again. That was because my camp was an experience I shall never forget. Elizabeth's dad was a vicar of a church in Edmonton. Someone had dropped out of the arrangements, and she asked me if I'd like to go camping in Wales for 2 weeks with the church crusaders. I begged Mum to let me go and was champing at the bit. After a long coach journey, I looked around and I was disappointed. It was a large field at Finnanoffy Farm, Dinas Cross, and it was wet and cold, even though it was August. We had a bell tent between 5 of us. We had to select straw for a palliasse, and I can tell you, straw soon flattens, and it's like sleeping on the damp ground. I didn't have a sleeping bag, just blankets and blanket pins. Meals were taken in a marquee, and songs were sung around the campfire. The worst bit was the toilet arrangements, because it was just a field. That's all. Imagine landing up in just a field in a rainy Wales with a palliasse and a blanket pin. Ooh. This consisted of flapping pieces of canvas, a ditch, and a trowel. I'm not joking. You jumped astride the ditch and hoped the canvas didn't flap to expose you. I didn't go to the toilet for 2 weeks. Well, maybe once. Washing was awful. Well, everything was awful. No. I received a lovely letter from Anne, and on the envelope she'd typed, "Hello, you gorgeous thing. Guess who?" Anne's my aunt, and I've still got the envelope. Postman, deliver this to a very pretty miss. We miss you and all that jazz. Southgate is not the same without you. The fairy lights on the tree have gone out. Southgate seemed a million miles away. I did telephone home and beg Dad to collect me, but it was decided I should stick it out. So you see, when I arrived home, everything seemed so wonderful. I just didn't notice the new furnishings in my bedroom. That was quite an experience and something that stayed with me. I'll just read you a little bit of growing up, and then I better stop because I've been going on, haven't I? Growing up. My life up to this point felt carefree, but now there were more responsibilities being added. It's only natural. It's all part of growing up. Of course, I wanted this, but being a child felt safe. Not knowing about the world was a cozy feeling. But as I gradually learned that life didn't just revolve around my school and my family, my inside started to feel a bit scared. Our family called these scared feelings the Hutton collywobbles. We'd often say that. My dad used to suffer from the collywobbles, and my mum, and me. Oh, I feel a bit collywobbly. Oh, sit down, have a drink. What would you like? Shall I squeeze you some oranges? We should put some brown sugar in it, hot water? Yes, please, Mum. Oh, we always looked after each other if we had the collywobbles. I'm sure other people felt it, especially when on a Sunday night there were thoughts of school next day and Sing Something Simple was played on the wireless. When I met an old school friend years later, she said I was very outgoing, chatty, that was a seagull, very outgoing, chatty, and confident, and was definitely the trendy one. I think that's true, but inside there was a part of me that was empty. I think my spiritual side was developing, but not being satisfied, and I think internal conflicts were starting. Well, it's all part of growing up, isn't it? Of course, we understand that now, but at the time it feels very, well, frightening. I thought I knew who I was, and all of a sudden you start to not quite know who you are. I wanted to carry on doing what others wanted, but I found I had feelings of my own. I joined the school at a point where the girls had been friends since they were small, and so they had a shared background. However well I integrated, I could never enter into their conversations about their past experiences as they came up the school together. My life up until then wasn't really mentioned. That seemed to me to be forgotten, as if a shutter had come down and closed it up. I lost touch with my old friends, except for Elizabeth Miller, and was plummeted into a new life. The girls seemed to know the rules, where everything was, how to do things, and it felt difficult, probably too much all at one go. Looking back, it's natural I felt like this, because to move to a new district, a new school, and to form new friendships would be a challenge for most 11-year-olds. Right, okay, so I made this fruit cake for Andrew, and I'm going to put up the little film here now, and it won't take a minute to show you, but it works out well, and it's a really moist cake, and it is delicious. I can really vouch for it. So I hope you enjoy that. So what's in this unpromising looking bowl? 8 ounces of plain flour, or 2 to 6 grams, 200 grams of softened butter, 200 grams of dark brown sugar, 500 grams of mixed fruit, dried, 200 grams of glacé cherries. I've washed those glacé cherries so you haven't got the, that gooey mess around it. 100 grams of ground almonds, 4 eggs, 2 tablespoons of black treacle, 1 tablespoon of marmalade, a teaspoon of mixed spice, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It's all in there, take it from me. And I'm going now to just whiz that round, and then I'll put that fruit in, and then I'm going to put it in my tin. I'll talk about that in a minute. Here it is whizzed up. It didn't take me a minute. It just whizzes all round in together. When I soaked the fruit, I made a mistake once of putting in too much liquid, and the cake didn't cook in the middle. Not nice. And so I don't know, put about 3 tablespoons of sherry over it, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I think it gives it a lovely flavour. So there it is, all whizzed up together, and I'm going to put it in the tin. And here it is popped in the tin, in my 8-inch deep tin, and I'm going to put it in my air fryer, or as Tommy calls it. Well, he used to, he doesn't anymore, he can speak now. He used to call it the air buyer. So that, of course, is what we all call it now, the air buyer. But he says the air fryer, so there we are. He's moved on, we haven't. So now, they're all different, aren't they? Mine, you put on bake, you put on 1 hour, and what we need is actually 1 hour 45 minutes. So I shall come back after an hour and put it on for 45 more minutes. And this needs to be on 130. So here we go. 130 on bake at 60 minutes, and then another 45, and that will be done. Well, from cakes to crafting, and I'm sitting at the crafting table, and all I've got to show you this week, well, as you'll see, I've been knitting a sock, and I've filmed that. I'll talk about that. And so I've done the sock, and I've done the centre panel of the quilt I'm making for my granddaughter. And here's what I'm doing. It's called Tranquility, and I've pieced this centre panel, I think in my chat I told you I decided to do it by hand. I much prefer sewing things by hand, unless it's a long straight line. I mean, if it's a long straight line, I've got the machine, why not just do that? But, when it's patchwork and small pieces, I just love doing it by hand. And I'll put some photographs up here while I'm chatting of how I do it. I draw, I draw around the piece. I then match up the lines, and I just finger press it. So this isn't all pressed. I just, press it with my fingers and open it up. Of course, at the end, when it's all done, it will get a nice, not too heavy a press, but yeah, it will get pressed. But just as I go, that's what I've been doing. As I said, I've been just relaxing in the lounge with Pete whilst there's been stormy and rainy weather. I'll show you it. I hope the light's good enough. It's a bit, you can see through it, can't you? But there it is. I find I can get the points nicely matched when I do it by hand. It's a nice amount. I'll stand up. I'll put it up against me. There we are. It's pretty, isn't it? So it's been a week and a half since I saw you last, and so I've done the sock and I've done this. So I'll keep you up to date with that. I'm starting on the next block. I'll just go and get that. So this is the next block I'm making. You can see it there. And I've got to make 12 of those. And you can see, I just finger press it, finger press these little bits open. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. Not much on the crop. Well, I mean, that's a lot of work, isn't it? That is a lot of work. But it's easy just to hold it up and show you. Yeah. We've come to the end now, the end of another episode. I want to tell you that I'm putting up 2 episodes together because I have been asked by some of my friends. I mean, some of my friends knit socks and they're absolutely accomplished, but others have said, "Oh, Pen, will you show us how you knit your socks?" And also, some of my viewers here, some of you have asked me. So I've knitted a sock. I'll just get it. Here it is. I've knitted this sock, and whilst I've been knitting it, I've shown you how I've done it step by step. The video is an hour and a half long. And if you don't want to know how, that's why I've done an episode and I've put this up extra as well, because it is just something different. But as I knitted it, and I balanced the camera on my shoulder. It's not all professional, but I think it might be helpful. Well, I've enjoyed doing it for you. So I hope you enjoy it. It's time for the film now. Time to say goodbye. And what's on the film? Oh, yes, it's George starting his morning with a sing-song. I think it's a jolly good idea. Let's expand those lungs and just let out a song. Why not? Why not? And then from my bedroom, you can see the lighthouse. So I show you the lighthouse. We've got snowdrops in the garden, which are lovely. And then we had the storm, and there was a wood pigeon hunkering down right in the top of the tree up here. So I took him, and we managed to get out before the storm for a walk, not into town and back, which is by the seaside, but round the block the other way. And that way we passed the farm, and she's got some alpacas, and donkeys, and Yeah, and they grow all the cabbages and the cauliflowers down there. It's still by the sea, so it's a nice walk, but we managed to do that for a change. So I just filmed that, and that's the film. So I hope you enjoy that. Thanks very much for being with me while I've got things off my chest and shared my baking with you and my makes. And I'll see you very soon. You take care. Bye bye.
Ready?